And alright, guys, welcome along to another episode of 420 News. It's Monday, guys. Hope you're all good out there. Hope you all had a good weekend. See, must always commented in there. He's saying hi, everybody, with a H-I-G-H. An extra special hi to everybody out there from Mustawes. So, guys, welcome along. It's Monday. Had a decent old weekend. I hope you all had a good one. Anyway, I got some nice herb here. I'm gonna blaze one up with yourselves as we get going on today's 420 News. But just to remind you guys, before we do get going into the 420 News, if you want to support the show, support the fight for cannabis legalization in Ireland, don't forget you got the patreon.com/Martin's World, and you also got the link for donations in the form of Bitcoin through martinsworld.ie. Thanks everybody who's supported the show financially so far. You also have the super chats. There's another means to supporting the show, supporting the fight for cannabis legalization in Ireland. So thanks to everybody who's supported, and thanks for all your comments flying in there as well at the moment. I see Monshore Fudge, he says, Mega rations here, Martin, don't be mean. Yeah, lads, sorry, I'm not intending to tease anybody. To be fair, like I'm sparing out what I have as well. Like, I'd nearly want to build a wall around it at this stage. It's becoming a bit hard to get again, unfortunately. But those times will be behind us again soon, as some friends harvest out. That's the joys of being connected with some friends who grow. Like, it has its ups and its downs. Who's that there? I'm sure, nice one for the old share of today's stream. Appreciate it, man. It's always good to help get the news out there. Right, I'm going to blaze this one up and I'll get stuck into today's news. Have a little bit of news for you guys. About 5 articles from Ireland. We've one or two. We've one from the UK, one from Vietnam, Thailand, Morocco, and America. So we're doing a little journey around the world, guys. But before we go there, I suppose you got to get high before you fly. A little bit more than that, I'd say. Oh yeah, tasty. Still hooting on that star dog. So who else is out there? We got Jai. He says, "Jah bless everybody. Hope everybody's blazed all day." Right, and Sean also says, "Hello, Martin, and hope all is well." Everything's good here, boy. Let's get stuck into 420 News today. So, guys, let's not keep you waiting any longer. So in Kilkenny, guys, the Gardaí were out carrying out checkpoints over the weekend, and these checkpoints, I'd imagine, are to do with the whole taking away. I mean, COVID. I wasn't going to say taking away your rights, but it's to do with the whole COVID. There was checkpoints going on there, and at the checkpoint, I'd imagine that the guards probably smelt a little bit of cannabis because 2 people were arrested and cannabis was found in their possession, and they were tested at the side of the road and they failed the oral fluid tests. So their bloods were taken, and those bloods are now sent off for analysis. So here we have 2 people again. These are 2 separate individuals here, 2 different motorists who now have their license at jeopardy. And again, this is a topic we've covered. I've done an entire episode on it. When is, what was it called again? I think it was when is drug driving not drug driving? I think I called that episode. But again, like this whole cannabis driving thing, it's completely discriminatory because it doesn't actually indicate impairment. It doesn't indicate whether these people were actually dangerous behind the wheel of the car or not. It just indicated that, yeah, they tick a box here, they have some THC present in their blood or saliva sample. So therefore we're going to treat them like criminals, treat them like, they're a danger to society. When actually there's very little evidence there to support it. So it until we get the laws changed, people are going to be discriminated against this and having their licenses taken away. Again, I don't know the individuals in this. The article doesn't indicate age, gender, or nothing like that. But you can imagine, like, let's just say one of these people is a mother, a single mother, and she had a smoke last night, she was just after going out to pick up her 50 bag, and she had a smoke 4 nights ago, because she smokes at the weekend, Who knows? It was a Saturday evening, these people got caught, this person was just after going out to get their bag of cannabis, and now their whole future is in jeopardy. they could need that car to get their job. They probably work Monday to Friday and 9 to 5, hold down a very good job. Could be a teacher, could be a nurse, could be anybody, literally, because people from all walks of life consume cannabis. It's not just your teenagers hanging out in the street corners who smoke cannabis. No, it's your nurses, your doctors, like it's your teachers. You probably I wouldn't say maybe your firemen. Some firemen probably people. You know, there's all walks of life. Obviously, there is some jobs there that people have to get drug tested again, so it can be hard to be a cannabis consumer in those jobs. But you know, the old coke is fine. That's easy to get out of your system. But we won't talk about those professions. Gardy, what? Who's? Gee, I don't know. Jeez, I heard something there. But again, look, more discrimination. I hope these people don't lose their license. Hopefully, maybe the blood test will come back showing that they didn't have enough there to put them over the limit. But it's probably unlikely, given that Ireland has the lowest THC limits for drug driving in, I would imagine, in the world. It's 1 nanogram per milliliter of blood, which is it's tiny. It's very small amount, to be fair. Vincent says it's like the video of the Guard conference you posted and they bragging about catching lads 4 or 5 days later. Pathetic. Yeah, exactly. You know, the Gardaí are aware of what they're doing. Do you know, this is the fear and intimidation tactics. Do you know, it doesn't matter what we're doing makes sense. It's not about like public safety anymore. No, it's about actually inflicting fear. It's about our Gardaí and our policymakers literally terrorising a community within our population. That community is cannabis consumers. It's wrong that we allow them to do this through their policies. They're straight up, like, they even admit it. They're bragging about it in videos openly, like quite brazenly. And what can we really do about it? It's you know, it's not like that we stand up for ourselves. You know, we should stop being such weeds and stand up for ourselves. But really, like, that's just not a form of discrimination. Like these policies, not aware of targeting and trying to get people prevention. Do you know what this is what it's about? Preventing people from consuming. We'll scare them by taking away their license, taking away their ability to work, their ability to travel. Great idea. And here's more a failure of policies in it's coming out of Carlow. And this was the headline that a toddler ate her dad's hash. And this toddler was aged 3. And she'd climbed up onto a couch and got hold of her father's hash and had consumed it. And the child was brought to the hospital. And what the article says, in an unresponsive state. But I don't know, I would kind of question that a little bit, like, in an unresponsive state. Like, was the lump of hash so big that the child was choking on it and it blocked her airways or something? Because as far as I know, like with hash, that you would have to at least decarboxylate it for it to be pretty active. Like that the hash that child consumed, a lot of the THC wouldn't have been in an active form. So, like, there was to be in an unresponsive state. Was it nap time anyway? Was the child just after falling to sleep? It was just her nap time. I don't know. It seems like sensationalism, like, kind of, you know, oh my God, the child ate the hash. He was in an unresponsive state, but was the child just after falling asleep? Child made a full recovery. There's nothing else in the article stating like that the child was in a critical state or anything like that. It said in an unresponsive state, but like the child could have been literally having a nap. But again, why this is a massive failure, because the biggest danger here to this child in consuming this hash was, where did the hash come from? What was in the hash? Was it actually hash? Did it contain some other synthetic chemical that actually didn't need that decarboxylation to activate it, which could have resulted in a child being in an unresponsive state? Again, this comes back to the policymakers who put these drugs in the hands of criminals and in an unregulated market where quality isn't assured to the consumer. So this father who had his hash at home, you know, he doesn't know really, like, unless he gets tested, what's actually in it. There could have been anything in there. You know, there literally could have been anything at all in there. Could have contained other sort of pharmaceutical-like compounds, which could have had a detrimental impact upon the child. Whereas if cannabis or hash was just legally available, like alcohol, you would know what's in it, and most likely what's in it wouldn't pose a risk. At least not a real fatal risk to the child. At least not in the amounts that like she could ingest. I'd imagine the child here probably ate a small nudge, maybe a gram or so. I'd imagine, as I say, like unless it was big enough to block her airways, like, but a nudge, like like. Imagine like the size of this lighter here now. You'd imagine like maybe half of that, like not even like a quarter of that, like that'd be about a 3 or 4 gram nudge there, like, wouldn't it? Like yeah, you'd wonder what size nudge that the child actually swallowed. But anyway, like I suppose in this case anyway, a good thing in is that the child did make a full recovery. There wasn't any like there's no long term impacts here upon the child. She probably like fell asleep. Maybe if the hash did have any effect, probably it did make the child a bit sleepy. But that was about it. Like, the child was just kind of like having a nice nap. Like, really. Like, okay, like they talk about the harmful effects to the brain of kids and stuff like that. But literally, like when you look at it in neurology, every young mind, like it is malleable to everything within its environment. Like, so everything in the environment has an impact upon the chemistry and the structure of the brain of young kids as they're developing. Do you know, like it's not just drugs, everything, like it's their interactions day to day, whether they enjoy something or not, like these things inflict like upon the development of that child's brain. Like every young child's brain is developing. So again, the biggest danger here, I suppose, is that it was an unregulated substance. Regulated substance, you won't have the same problem. Now, it didn't help this man's situation when he was in court. He was found to have 128 previous convictions. So the Tussla and all these guys are getting involved, but don't even get me started on Tussla and their fucking track record. But again, the 128 convictions, he had been a past heroin addict, and his solicitor said he no longer took drugs anymore. And the court was told that the child was fully recovered from the incident. There's a probation report now being made, and I don't know what they're going to be charging the man here in relation to, like negligence, like being a bad dad. I'm not too sure. Like he didn't sell it to the kid. Like he wasn't drug dealing. Like does he get done for possession? Like what's the charge here? Like if your kid gets in under your sink and drinks bleach, like do you get charged as a parent? Are you going to be charged for like manslaughter or something because your kid is able to get access to the stuff? Like, you made a mistake, like you left your guard down. Now, everyone knows if you've young kids crawling around, have latches on the sink. Like, but like I don't know. Do parents get charged for that? I don't know, is this just another form of discriminating against cannabis consumers? Like, yeah, like the child made a full recovery if the real danger here was from prohibition, not actually from the hash. Really, like if you think about it, the actual real danger here in this is prohibition. If the judge was to lash out at anybody, he should be lashing out at the politicians who were so fucking ignorant and dragging their heels and being putting in place progressive policies where hash can be quality assured, so it's not so risky to kids if they do swallow it. But anyway, look, I'm just some lunatic stoner with my crazy wacky ideas. Other news there, guys, and obviously look, but before I go on this, I'm not condoning kids having hash and stuff. Like I'm saying, there's quality assurance, so if kids do get it, like at least it's not too much of a danger to them because you know what's in it. Other news, 110,000 euro worth of cannabis and cocaine was seized in Limerick, and this was on Friday evening. So on Friday evening in Limerick, Gardaí around 9 p.m. carried out a raid on a property in the Moyross area, and this was under a warrant, probably working upon information given by rats. But cannabis were believed to be worth 96,400 euro, and cocaine valued at 13,650 euro was seized, and the drugs are being now sent for analysis. That's a better way of saying it. Jeez, the drugs are now being sent for analysis up to the Forensics Science Ireland. And a man aged in his 20s was arrested at the scene, and he's taken to Limerick Garda Station, where he's been detained under Section 2 of the Criminal Justice Act, and investigations are ongoing. So again, almost another 100,000 euro worth of cannabis being seized by our Gardaí and going to be destroyed. But again, another example of cannabis being side by side with cocaine. When you go overseas to say America, even if you just go over the small journey it takes to get to Amsterdam or to Spain, when you go into a cannabis premises like that does in the retail of cannabis, like you don't have cocaine on those premises. Prohibition puts these things side by side. Prohibition enables this gateway model. Must always, you're a legend, man. 99 cent legend. Happy days, man. I got 99 problems. Legend. But again, like prohibition, putting these things side by side. If we were just cleaning up, you wouldn't have cannabis and cocaine being sold side by side. You wouldn't have a Gardaí carrying out raids like this, you know. At least the Gardaí could be putting their time and efforts into, I don't know, the paedophile rings that are out there. There was some news there I was kind of coming across recently as to a massive paedophile ring within the army or something, within a particular barracks or something like that. Like crazy stuff like that. This stuff exists in Ireland. Like, why don't we have like massive parts of our Gardaí investing time into paedophilia? Why not? Like, why do we have a drug squad? Like, why do we have literally a drugs unit? We've like dogs trained to sniff out drugs. Like, why aren't we training dogs to sniff out paedophiles? I don't know. Like, it'd be surely it's worthwhile try at least to train them. I don't know. Maybe it's possible. You know, whether even if it was an impossible thing to achieve, it's much better use of your time than fucking training them to sniff out cannabis, because you're wasting your time there. Like, look how much cannabis is getting raided, and still yet you can get cannabis around the place. I still was able to get my Star Dog. There's still more Star Dog there if I want to go and get it, although I was told it's going to run out soon. But it's still there, like, and no doubt there'll be something else to replace the Star Dog. There'll probably some more Star Dog there again after that, like, who knows, like. But this is just a wasting their time, like, we're fucking in a recession, like. Do you know, there's people down there now at the moment outside of Debenhams who've been let down by the government, who, do you know, the government have basically let them down. They're after losing their jobs now. Surely we could offer them an opportunity. Like, obviously the government should do what they need to be done and get them their redundancy, like, but they're protesting now for almost a year. I think tomorrow is a year. I think it's tomorrow, or no, maybe next month actually. I'm not too sure. They're very close to being protesting a year now. Pod, you're a legend there as well with the €2 I see you flying in the comments, man. A legend. Oh, it's popping up there now as well. Happy days. But again, like, you know, the guys, a bit late up, I hope everyone as well. Hey Martin, nice one. But again, you know, the guys down at Debenhams, like, imagine if we were to offer them an opportunity to work in cannabis retail. It wouldn't take much to train them around the different strains and to educate them about the cannabis consumers out there within the market and the different kind of things that they like. And I'm sure, like, many of these people, women, again, like, shout out to the women out there, International Women's Day today. You know, much respect to you. You know, many of them are women, and you know, they would be amazing in the retail environment. Not against men at all. Like, I'm not trying to be sexist here, like, but again, like, give these people a job, like, give them an opportunity. Like, even this man here now who was caught with the cocaine and the cannabis, like, give them an opportunity to work in a legitimate industry, because these people are being lured into it fucking all the time. What's Dar Patrick saying? He says, Tussle, the gang of scumbag who help women get away with parental alienation. Yeah, definitely, guys. On Women's International Women's Day, all right. Let's not forget the many men out there who could be great dads but are being denied the opportunity because our courts in this country are a bit preferential to women. No, not all of the times, like, but a lot of the times they can be. And yeah, that is a bit discriminatory. So when are we going to have International Men's Day? Or women say that's every day. Sorry, I'm not going to get into that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not really going to get into that stuff. But yeah, I do agree with what Patrick is kind of saying there, though. There is kind of a bit of a preference in the courts towards women. But that's for a whole different podcast, not for this one. So let's get back to it, guys, because in North Cork, this came out of a stop that was last year. And I suppose within this, guys, there's a bit of warnings to people out there, but also just highlighting again how the war on drugs has failed, how prohibition it's hopeless. Like, it's not going to stop drugs getting from A to B. Because here, in this instance, you have a young man, 22 years of age, getting caught with 56,000 euro worth of drugs. It was 40,000 worth of cannabis he got caught with, and another 16,000 euro worth of again cocaine found strapped into his in his jocks. So that the cannabis was found in 3 different parcels, kind of wrapped up in the boot of the car. But again, in this instance, like your man speeding down the motorway up around Mitchellstown area, cop flags him, pulls him in, stops him, was giving him a speeding ticket, I suppose, and it was kind of like, come here, smell of cannabis coming out of your car again. Like if this young fella, like if he had 6 million euro worth of cocaine in the car, he probably wouldn't have got caught because he wouldn't have got smelt out. You know, the cop wouldn't have been able to sniff out the cocaine in the back. Like maybe there's a little pun in there somewhere, but again, he wouldn't have been able to smell the cocaine. But with cannabis, like we get fucked all the time, man, because the stuff, like, man, it's so nice. Like we love it about it, but it's like a fucking thorn in our side because it gets us caught, and these guards get lucky again. Literally like luck. This cannabis, this nearly 60,000 euros worth of drugs, like falls into the lap of this lucky guard, and then like the old fucking I'm not even gonna call him what I was about to call him, but Judge Sean O'Donovan commends the guard for his actions and what he done, but literally like, the guard just got lucky. Like, what are you commending him for? There was no investigation. The guard was out there doing a fucking speed check. Your man was speeding, like the idiot fucking done the work for the guard for him. Like, if you're going to be transporting 60,000 euro worth of drugs, at least follow the fucking speed limit, lads. Jeez, lad. Alright, fair enough. Like, you could let your guard down. He could have been doing 130 now into 120. He left his guard down. There's a few hills there coming in, and these cops can be pricks as well, just out to make money. Like, so again, like, you know, I don't know what the situation is, but obviously, like, just take no chances. Like, you got fucking that much of drugs in your car. Like, just do 10 kilometers, like, or 5 kilometers under the speed limit. Just make sure you're not speeding, like, you know, in fairness, lads. And then the next thing, like, if you're going to travel with cannabis in your car, make sure it's vacuum packed, and then vacuum pack that back, and then vacuum pack that pack, because you can never be too safe. You don't want these guards getting lucky, because that's how they catch us a lot of the times. It's by them getting lucky because we drop their guard, and we drop our guard by them sniffing us out. Whether it be literally by sniffing the cannabis, or whether us dropping our guard and letting the wrong person know, and that person gets caught with a little bit of cannabis, and then they rat you out. Maybe you're growing a little bit of cannabis yourself and you give it to one of your college buddies, and that fucking fool gets caught, and the guard is like, do you know, come here, what, you're going to be a doctor? Oh Jesus, and you're going to be, all right, yeah, your career is fecked. Oh jeez, when the judge hears you're going to be a doctor and you got caught with drugs, oh no, it's not good for you. Look, just tell us where you got it and you get off with it. Look, so, and that's how they work. That's literally how they work. They get lucky. Because that's both instances there. They smell you out, that's getting lucky because you dropped your guard. They catch you because one of your buddies rat you out. Again, they got lucky because you dropped your guard. So again, don't just be very careful what you're doing out there, guys. Don't make their job easy for them. And again, like in this, it just highlights how the war on drugs is failure. Like it's destined to fail. This young fella who they caught, 22, his family moved to Ireland 25 years ago, and he was born in Ireland himself. He has a name here, and it's an African kind of name. I'm going to butcher it if I try to read it. I don't remember it, so I'm just going to go back to the article here just to get his name. But where is his name? Okay. His name is Adeyinka Olamide Jarkel. So that's his name. That's the name that they're given there for him. So again, my apologies. I tried my best there to read out his name. I'm just going to call you Jarkel, because that's probably the easiest one to pronounce there on this. Like, but a 22-year-old young fella. He's living above in Dublin. He got caught down in Cork. He was working away all the time in a factory in Kildare. It's saying here. And he was kind of like, he had no previous convictions, no trouble at all, and he was just given an opportunity. It's saying that he was given an opportunity to make a bit of extra money on the run up to Christmas 2019. And you know, the young fella, he made a silly mistake. Like, you know, aren't we all, like, we all make mistakes, like, but like, you know, but this mistake now has resulted in this young lad after getting 3 years in prison with 18 months suspended. So he got half it suspended. Like that's a big price to pay for a little mistake. In reality, it is a little mistake. It was a simple decision. It was a yes or no decision. That's how easy it was, and that's resulted in him having a year and a half out of his life taken away, having his name now tarnished as being a drug dealer. And again, within this, even in the case, like when the defence counsel was questioning the guard as to this young lad's role within the operation, like the guard acknowledged like that the young fella probably was just a delivery driver. He says, you know, that he wasn't the kingpin, he wasn't the guy, he was probably just the guy moving stuff from A to B. But yeah, a year and a half of his life now, they deem it okay to take that away. It's a failure again of our politicians. In reality, they've had a long time to deal with this issue, but they haven't. Like, look at our Misuse of Drugs Act, how long it's in place. Look how many people are out there today that have drug addiction problems and can still get access to drugs. Look how many people out there today that don't have drug addiction problems, but are yet forced to go through addiction services because they got caught by the law with their drugs. This is silly. There's really people out there with addiction problems, whether it be even to legal drugs, alcohol and tobacco, who can't even get access to services to help them quit. But yeah, you know, you get caught with the drugs and you're forced through an addiction service, like, or something like that. It's fucking mad. Like, I see some other people there saying that the Garda are going to see all they can because medical weed coming to Ireland June or July. Yeah, they're going to seize all they can, you're saying. Maybe. It'll be very interesting. I'm paying close attention to the Little Collins case, the Relief case, and any of the other CBD cases that are going through the courts, because if they set a precedent, if they kind of rule that their flowers are illegal to possess, that's a game changer for us guys, because like it's going to be very hard for the guards to differentiate now between a CBD bud, like if this is grinded up CBD flower or not, like it'll be very hard. So it'll be a big game changer, all right, for sure. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming months with those court cases and stuff like that, and even with Gino Kenny's bill as well. Like maybe these court cases as well will be kind of help be a catalyst to Gino Kenny's bill being accepted. Because it's not looking too likely it will be received well, but maybe these court cases and stuff will kind of change the old appetite up there for cannabis legalization within the Irish government. Who knows? Let's see. Vincent says blind squirrel finding a nut. That's the old Gardaí there for you. Alright, that's for sure. And Dara Parter Corwin says, when I hear International Women's Day, I think of poor Deadpool getting shafted and the big nope. There's a guy in Kinsale who has the same name as the ship in the Matrix. Didn't know that at all. Alright, let's go to Scotland, because over in Scotland there was a former soldier who was growing cannabis to help him deal with his PTSD. He was spared a jail sentence, and this man found himself, I suppose, at the rat of the law last year, when there was a smell of cannabis found to be coming from his house. His name is John Hoey. He's 64 years of age, and he was found with what they said describe as a plantation of horrible cannabis, and the police estimate it to be worth nearly £12,500. And yeah, the court heard that the officers called to the house in response to the strong smell, and they found 31 cannabis plants. Hoey told the cops, I only grew it for my own use as I've got pain and PTSD from being in the army. Hoey, who was in the army during the times of the Troubles in the north, yeah, he says he now suffers from PTSD from what he witnessed throughout those times, and he also suffers with pain as he's 64, like, you know, it's an aging body, and cannabis is a tremendous medicine. Like, in fairness to the man, all he wanted to do was, he was growing his own plants, 64 years of age. Like, in fairness, that's an amazing thing to be doing, like, at 64, to be out gardening, like, that's so good for his health. Happy feckin' days. I hope it was outside in the fresh air, like, and not inside in some closet underneath a big HPS bulb. I hope he was doing it outside. As they say, it was a plantation, like, and a strong smell, then maybe it was hard, like he couldn't get a carbon filter for outside, and the old neighbours snitched him up, unfortunately. But he says that instead of rearing 4 plants every month or a couple of months, he grew all these plants at once to try and stop the neighbours from finding out. It didn't work, of course. They did find out and somebody reported him or somebody ratted on him. So what kind of a person would you be? Like, really? Like, oh, my neighbour is growing. I can smell cannabis coming out of my neighbour's garden. Like, oh my God. Like, oh, you nasty bit of work you are. Like, leave the man alone. He was growing a plant. Like, oh, I don't like the smell of it. It smells horrible. Like, jog on. Like, who cares? Like, really? Imagine if you were like your roses smelt and I didn't like the smell of your roses and I was able to complain you to the guards. You were growing lavender or something and I didn't like lavender. Jog on, like, in fairness, unless it's actually causing you some sort of an allergic reaction. Like, it's come on, like, it's stop ratting people out for growing cannabis out there, people. It's messed up. Your cops are wasting their time. In this case anyway, the judge didn't deem it appropriate to send the man to jail, so he was spared a prison sentence. Happy fucking days. But still, nonetheless, he had to go to court. He has his plans taken off him. Like, where's the can card in this, in helping this man? Where's the amnesty here? Like, where's the apology for taking away this man's medicine? He's not going to get it. In fact, he's expected to be thankful here for being spared jail. It's like I would give the judge one of these, like, you know, it's like, get off your high horse there, judge. Send me to prison, you miserable old bat. Like, that's what I'd be saying to him. If I was 64 and they took my plants off me, I'd be snapping. I'd be going into the court with another plant and I'd be asking for my other ones back, like, because this is a human right issue. Like, this man should have a right to be able to grow this plant and produce a medicine, like produce a nutritious product for his body that's going to be a prophylactic, that's going to be preventative, that's going to help alleviate some of those symptoms that come with old age. Like, because some of the elderly generation out there are probably the most medicated people on the planet. They get all sorts of drugs for all sorts of issues. Like, and in reality, cannabis, like, I'm not saying it's a panacea for everything, but it would help them a lot. It would do an awful lot. It could give an awful lot of elderly people an alternative to multiple medications. It very much well could. I'm not saying it's a panacea, but it's certainly an alternative to many, many pharmaceutical-based drugs. And we're depriving these elderly people of it because of this fucking nonsensical idea that we can achieve a drug-free society. At least, the drugs we deem illegal for you anyway. Like, you know, we don't want the old devil's lettuce to be going around the place, like, because that's bad. Like, but tobacco and alcohol, they're good. They're fine. Yeah, well done, lads. So onwards we go from the UK and we head to Morocco. And we were in Morocco last week where we were reporting that the Moroccan government were going to be debating a bill. Not debating it, I suppose, yeah, debating the contents of it, but they were in agreement that they were going to approve the bill to legalise cannabis. But sadly, those talks have been postponed. For what reason, I don't know, and for how long, I don't know. So the government were having talks last Thursday, and those talks were set to go on. But they decided in the middle of the talks that they were going to postpone them for maybe a couple of weeks, to months maybe, who knows. So last week I was reporting, like, oh, well done, the Moroccan government, you know, they were kind of accepting that this is something that needed to be done quick. But then, like, fuckers, like, they make me, like, they eat my words, like, yeah, because, like, look at them now, that they're postponing it. And not only are they postponing it, but the authorities there have just seized 2 tons of cannabis resin, hash. So they seized like 2 tons of what could have been an amazing product to be exported that would have offered so much revenue to the people, to the farmers and stuff. But instead now this is all going to be destroyed at the expense of the taxpayers in Morocco. And apparently their economy in Morocco isn't doing very well, as they've been attacked in, apparently the Algerian media are attacking the Moroccans politically, saying that they're only talking about legalising cannabis now to cover up how in trouble their economy is. But, like, who cares? Like, in fairness, like, if they are doing it's not really even to cover it up, it's to actually aid with a failing economy. Because yes, if you legalise and regulate cannabis, it would effectively do a lot to benefit the economy. The way in which they're looking to do it in Morocco, it's poorly. Hopefully they'll sort it out in the talks. They're only, like, on about medicinal and therapeutic products. But I hope that's like not to be like stigmatic or discriminatory towards people who use it, maybe who buy hash in Amsterdam, because I've definitely bought hash in Amsterdam that I believe to have come from Morocco, and I hope that continues to happen. So I hope that that channel now, which the hash goes from Morocco to Amsterdam, gets cleaned up and is legal, and the money is kind of people are known who that money is going to. Because I don't want to be funding maybe an Al Qaeda type group out there who's going to use that money to fucking traffic humans or to make bombs or some shit. Like, I don't want to be doing that when I'm buying hash when in Amsterdam, or even buying it off the dark web. Because that's just doesn't fit well with me. That's like unethical. Don't want to be doing that. So yeah, it's a pity. This is what 2 tons of hash looks like. At least I think it's what 2 tons of hash looks like. I think that's all of it there. Maybe an old package or two could have went missing there with one of the boys in the old masks. That's probably why they don't want to take off their masks, because they all took an old bale each. I don't know what you think's in each bale. Like, I'd imagine they're about like 20 kilos each, maybe. About 20, 30, would you think? Like, maybe. Or something like that. Like, so you get a kilo of hash, a kilo for €1,000 or something like that. Probably if you're buying a kilo, you might even get a bigger discount, I would imagine. Like, but mad to think, like, I would love one of those. Oh, imagine what was in that. Imagine what that stuff tastes like. It's just like, it breaks my heart really inside that to think that this stuff is going to be destroyed. It's an awful shame. So yeah, let's not dwell too much on that, because I'll start crying now soon. I would love a piece of hash. It's been ages since I had a nice piece of hash. I don't know, lads. What's the hash like out there at the moment? Are people getting hash? I've seen some stuff on Instagram. I've seen some vendors put up some nice looking stuff. In fairness, and I've been tempted once or twice to part with some of my Bitcoin to get some, not the Bitcoin that have been donated to me, but Bitcoin I've kind of had left over from recent from past transactions on the dark web. That's the only time I've ever bought Bitcoin, was to fucking buy drugs. It wasn't when my buddy was telling me invest in it when it was about €20 a Bitcoin. Kicking myself I didn't listen to him. Like, it was only ever when I wanted to buy another bag of weed. And I always would have a bit of change then, and fucking once there I think I had like maybe about €3 or €4 left in change, and that €3 or €4 turned into like €40 or something, like over time. Crazy, like, Bitcoins. But again, off on a tangent there again, sorry lads. We pop on over to America, guys, where there was more talks for cannabis legalization being had, and this was within Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, which is a Republican-dominated kind of state government, I suppose. Yeah, it's been rejected again pretty much. They're dead on arrival as the just to give, I suppose, acknowledgement to Darren White as a Republican, but he's ashamed of him because of this kind of behavior, like that they don't even give proper respect to bills that come forward that seek to kind of be more progressive and to undo the harms of the war on drugs. It's just like that they have their heads buried in the sand. They're just ignorant, and we see it again here in Wisconsin anyway, where the Republican dominated Senate there, or state, have rejected the budget proposals by the governor Tony Evers. And in his budget proposal, he said that the adult use of cannabis is expected to generate more than $165 million annually in the state. Like, that's a large amount of money. Like, imagine what could be done with that amount of money. And in terms of, say, youth diversion programs, like, you're so worried about kids who might develop drug problems. Well, tackle the root cause of drug problems, which are kids who've been left down by parents, left down by the system, just left down by society. And they find fucking their escape, they find their comfort within drugs. And we've left them down because a lot of the times it is those kids who tend to develop drug use problems, not exclusively, but a lot of the times, like, they are disproportionately affected in it. So yeah, it's a shame there that the Republicans aren't acknowledging and respecting these bills when they come forward. But I suppose that's politics for you, isn't it? Unfortunately, it's fucking horrible. So yeah, and yet we still don't hear anything from Biden over there. So I don't have too much positive news really to report on from America at the moment, unfortunately. Maybe Biden might get the finger out there soon and do something for cannabis legalization, because it really needs to happen on that federal level, for things to take off, because states have been held back, or businesses have been held back because of issues around like banking, insurance, and all sorts of issues there that regular businesses don't have. And it's wrong, and it's discriminatory, and Biden needs to sort it out. He's the president of the US, Kamala Harris is the vice president, and she got votes based upon what they were going to do for the cannabis market, and yet they haven't done it. You know, they talk about saving lives, but yet they're still dropping bombs. It's like, come on, like, at least it should be easier to save the lives than it is to take them. But yeah, actions speak louder than words, I suppose. So we'll report back there in due time. We'll see what happens in America. Hopefully I'll have positive news to report there. Maybe Biden might watch this at some stage. But we go there, and we keep on going right around the world. We go from America, we're going to Vietnam. Where we're going in Vietnam is to Dak Lak. In Dak Lak, Vietnam, there was an illegal cannabis plantation destroyed, where the cannabis plants were found hidden amongst coffee plants. There was more than 1,500 cannabis plants that were illegally grown there. And yeah, the authorities went out and they destroyed them. The plants were ranging in heights from 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, tiny, like, to 1.8 meters. Okay, yeah, that's more appropriate, 1.8 meters. But like the 1 centimeter one, like, imagine chopping that down, like, just like fucking. I get out the scissors, I suppose. But anyway, all of these plants are going to be destroyed. In Vietnam, those growing cannabis on a small scale can be fined up to 2.5 or up to 5 million Vietnam dollars, which is the equivalent of $86,000, is it? Or $86? I don't know. 86 and 16. Okay, yeah. Yeah, $86 maybe that's the equivalent of. So if you're growing on a small scale, you can get $86 fine. And that's not too bad. But if you're found cultivating more than 500 plants, which this person was, you can face a jail term of up to 6 months or 3 years. That's not too bad either, in fairness. Like, and then they even say, like, while those operating on an even bigger scale can get up to 7 years. And even that's not too bad, considering, like, the judges here in Ireland think if you're growing €100,000 worth of cannabis plants, that it should be appropriate to give you 10 years in jail. Even in Vietnam, they're only giving them a place, like, and who knows, but we won't even get into that, because really what I wanted to do here is compare, because Vietnam is right next to Thailand. And this is the plantation here, actually, and the authorities destroying it before I leave this story. But right next to Vietnam is Thailand, and some people, like, when you're in Thailand, if you're staying for longer than a month, like, you have the Vietnam bus, and you, like, get on a bus in Thailand, you go to Vietnam for the day, and then you come back to Thailand and start a new 1 month visa pass, and, like, that's the thing. That's how close they are. Like, it's just across the border and back. But in Thailand, like, they're having what's known now as a green rush. So Thailand is in a green rush as the government pushes cannabis as a cash crop. And this is because in Thailand now, local villages with as little as 6 people can set up their own little social enterprise for their own community, where they can get together and grow hemp varieties of cannabis. Now, what depicts hemp in Thailand, I don't know that just yet. I didn't kind of allude to it, and I wasn't able to find it. I think it might be up to 1% possibly in Thailand that they're allowed to grow, but I wasn't able to confirm that before the show. But it is hemp that they're talking about, and they are focusing a lot on CBD. So I would imagine it is up to at least 1%, maybe even 2% possibly, because the Thais, like, apparently they have a kind of a past culture there of using cannabis as a pain reliever in their traditional medicine. And yeah, so it's just re-establishing its place there now. And the Thai government, not only are they encouraging it, but they're like holding events around the country. The most recent one they held was incredibly well attended. There's an old photo here of it, and like that, like imagine that, like compare this to the other photo, like this is Vietnam and this is Thailand. Like they're right next to each other. They share a border. You could drive across it. You can get on a bus and go across it. And then one of them, like, they'll destroy our cannabis crop, like, and the government will actively pay authorities to come out and destroy it. And when the one right next to it, the government are encouraging now villages to grow it. And they're doing it by offering them up to 40,000 baht, which is the equivalent of about €1,500 or dollars. So that's a nice sum of money there for the Thais. So well done to the Thai government, like that they're putting the Irish government to shame, like they really are. Like we've had a medicinal cannabis access program for 2.5 years, and it's only getting funded this fucking June, and we're celebrating this. We should be they should be ashamed of themselves, like we should not be thankful of this. Like they should be ashamed of themselves, like and what they're doing, and like in it. Like you have Vera Toomey, and she's highlighting what's going on with the Bedrocan medicines that Holland, they don't even want to export it. What's going on over in Holland, what I'm hearing from the ground over in Holland, is that basically they're not interested in exporting their cannabis because they can't even grow enough of it for their own country. So they're not really interested in exporting it. They're actually more interested in importing it or producing it nationally for their own country. Whereas Ireland, like we're only focused on importing it. Like what in the name of God is going on out there? Like I've sent emails in the past to the Department of Health, to the Health Products Regulatory Authority, to the different various bodies of the government that are involved in this. So I can kind of extending a hand. Like I was like, oh, I'm a herbal scientist, just graduated. I would love to work with you to develop a program to grow cannabis, to provide medicines for the people of Ireland, and to facilitate a study. Nah, but the kind of things I got back. Cannabis is an illegal drug. And they sent me the section of the Misuse of Drugs Act and shit, as if I didn't know this stuff, like, and all. Like it's mad. One of them asked me for a business plan. I was like, I'm not sending you a business plan. Like, jog on, like, fucking idiots. Like, and the Thais are putting them to shame here again. Some very interesting comments coming from this exhibition. Where at this exhibition, Thais were able to taste hemp-based noodles, ice creams, and drinks. So quite a selection of products out there. They say that the hemp plants are ganja, as they call it, is the rising star to bring our good quality of life, to bring our good quality of lives and money back in our purses, as good as before and ever even better. Said with it. So that's a bit of broken English there from the Thais, I'd imagine. As I'm reading it, I'm kind of like, yeah, I should probably read it in a Thai accent, and it would make a bit more sense, but I won't do that. But yeah, the Thais, some of the Thais are saying it will bring good quality of lives to us and to the country. Fair play to him there. And one noodle restaurant owner, he says, it is in Thai's mindset that delicious noodle soup with beef should added with ganja. This thing, and he's on about cannabis, will not only boost our restaurant's business, but it will drive the whole economy. People who want to try it, from food to cosmetics. And that was the owner of the noodle shop, Sitichan Wutipankun. So again, apologies there if I completely butchered your name. But that's like nice positive stuff coming out of Thailand again. Like I'm really like considering if they offer me residency, like I would love to move over there and extend them, like all of the education that the Irish government have paid for me to obtain here. Feck it, like if the Thais want to be the benefactors of that, then so be it, because it seems like the government here aren't interested in it. They're not, like, why won't they engage with us? Why won't they respond respectfully, to these genuine inquiries? Like, it was a genuine inquiry and they completely disregard it. They don't respect us at all. And we're we're literally being left in the smoke, in the dust of other countries who are miles ahead of us in terms of facilitating for a cannabis industry within their country. Shame on the Irish government. Like, the Irish people deserve better. We really do. Like, the patients out there deserve better. Our communities deserve better. Prohibition is destroying communities. It's destroying lives. It's putting young people at risk. They talk about it all the time. Think of the kids. In reality, if you want to think of the kids, like, end your prohibition, and that's the best way you can feckin' protect your kids. Guys, apologies for keep swigging if that cottonmouth is mad. Guys, thanks everybody for hanging on up until this point. In a few seconds, I'm going to just extend on the show a little bit, just for a little treat for you, to everybody who's out there watching live right now. You might have seen there a couple of months ago, I went up to Dublin and took part in a TV show. Well, that TV show is online now for everybody to go and watch. I think it's going to be aired some night there, maybe during the week or in the coming weeks on TV as well. But it's up on the Virgin Media player right now for anybody who wants to go and watch. The show is called Eating with the Enemy, and I'm in episode 3. And I think my piece starts like 18 minutes into the episode or something like that. But I suppose, look, to save you a bit of bother and whatever, it's a good show. It's worth watching. There's some interesting conversations that take place in it. There's one between a priest and a drag queen. I kind of just gave it a watch there earlier. Just it was an interesting one, in fairness. But my own one, I have the snips from it there. I've taken all of the clips from the show, and I have them all here now to play for you in a couple of minutes. I believe it's about maybe 8 minutes in total, so it's like a 47-minute show, and there's, I think, 4 conversations in the episode. And in total I got about 8 minutes, maybe 8.5 minutes of airtime within the episode. Myself and Bernard, who was the guy I was conversing with in the episode, like, we had a very interesting conversation. At least I thought we had a very interesting conversation. Of course, I'm a bit biased in that perspective, like, but the pieces of it, they didn't get the good pieces. Like, Bernard shared some very interesting stuff. Like, there was, I think there was one point, like, I was kind of getting very close to tears talking to him, and I don't know if they captured that or what the crack is like, but I wasn't too happy myself with the final edit that they did use. But I'm going to try to do my best to get in touch with Bernard. I would love to have him on the show, to have a conversation with him, because, like, we did have contrasting views, because we were looking at it from 2 totally different perspectives. So look, without saying too much more, look, I'll get into it. I'll play the first clip for you. The first clip there is about 3 minutes long, and fingers crossed this doesn't bring up any issues later on with the video, but hopefully I'll be able to play it for you anyway. Hopefully the guys over at the old Virgin won't mind. So here's clip 1 anyway, and it's the introduction with myself and Bernard.
It's time now to meet our next set of diners.
My name is Bernard. I'm from Dublin and I'm a support worker. I grew up in the inner city. My father died when I was young, cancer, and I would have started experimenting with drugs, hash and alcohol, and I then experimented with heroin. Marijuana is a gateway drug to other drugs. I ended up in a treatment centre at 16 years of age, and we ended up in prison. I was homeless as well. And then my sister found me, brought me home, and I ended up back in another treatment centre. My life just has took off since, you know, that kind of way. It would be a big passion of mine to help people and show them there's a way out. Believe me, if I'm not doing it and I'm still alive today, anybody can do it, you know? Anybody can do it, yeah.
As Bernard settles in, his dinner guest is on the way.
My name's Martin. I'm from the north side of Cork City, and I'm a self-defense instructor. I have an honours degree in herbal science. Chose to do that just so I can have proper intellectual discussions about cannabis and how that works. It really annoys me when people say that cannabis is a gateway drug, because in reality, prohibition is what put me closer to some of these more harmful drugs. Having to be brought to court for possession of cannabis, that makes me really angry.
Something I'm really passionate about is the need for the ending of cannabis prohibition because of all the discrimination that happens in our society by the people who are very much anti-drugs.
How are you doing?
Hey. How are you?
Martin's my own name, and yeah.
Bernard.
Bernard. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you, Bernard. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Excellent.
Where are you from?
Cork.
Cork.
Yeah, here from Dublin, anyway.
Dublin, yeah.
There's no hiding it.
Yeah, I'd say Bernard's first impression was, who's this guy in the suit and what's he going to talk about?
So, what is your peer group like?
Yeah, my peer group was be all in recovery and that, you know, people what would have gone through addiction and that, all types of addiction.
Okay, very interesting.
And then in people that work in the field of it, helping people with addiction and that, it'd be part of my peer, and it'd be so.
Will a lot of those be injecting drug users then at that, or would it be
Broad.
Okay.
From cannabis to injecting heroin, crack cocaine, alcohol,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And can I ask how, or if prohibition has helped those people at all, having drugs illegal? Does it help them?
Me personally, I don't believe it should be legalised. The mental health end of things, you know, that kind of way. There's a big impact on people with the marijuana at the minute, you know, that kind of way.
My own background is I was caught with cannabis. That led me down the road of activism, tried to understand what it was that I was being criminalised for.
My experience with drugs has been beneficial to me, hasn't been negative at all, except when I got caught with cannabis by the authorities. That's when my drug use became negative and impacted negatively on my life.
With me, I have charges for drugs. I was caught.
Yeah.
I was caught, you know, it's part of the justice system.
Yeah.
If you legalise one, then what about the rest of them? Just to legalise it, I think we're going to open up a door for young teenagers to a gateway.
In a debate, the most useful skills are, first and foremost, staying calm, sticking to the facts, and trying to respond rather than to react, so that what you're saying can be heard as opposed to the way you're expressing it.
Generally, people are waiting for the other person's mouth to stop moving, so it's their time to talk. But no communication is taking place when that's present.
And there you go, guys. That was the first clip out of. I've two more clips there to play for you. But I know what you kind of thought about the old introduction there with that with Bernard and stuff. But like they don't really reveal a lot about Bernard within what they show. Like Bernard had a very interesting story. Like his dad died at a young age. So he was absent of a father figure from a young age. He also like was drinking from the age of 8. He was drinking alcohol at the age of 8. But yet, like, you know, his problem was not drugs. In reality, his problem, you know, again, when you look at this, it was society failed him, you know, and in reality, there's no other way of looking at it other than like society failed him. He's like his parents. I wouldn't say that they failed him as such, like, but they weren't able to be the net that they should have been for Bernard, you know. Unfortunately, so I just didn't like the editing of that again. But look, this is the risk that you run when you kind of take part in these things. But anyway, look, here's clip 2 for you, and boom. Nice one there as well, Mustafa. I see that Euro coming in, you legend. What's the most difficult decision you ever had to make?
Stay alive. Because where the drugs brought me into a deep, horrible place, you know.
How did you get off drugs if you're...
I went into a treatment centre.
And was that one of these ones that would you to be clean, as they call it?
It's not about being clean or anything like that. I hate
I know. I hate the word. Because it's not my word. That's why I'm using that. It's someone else's word.
You know, sobriety. You know, it'd be a better terms for it. I'm 2.5 years clean. We are actually clean. You know, because the old is gone and the new is coming. I've done 14 treatment centres, but the last one was the hardest one I've ever done, because I had to look at me. I had to look at the inner side of me and why I like drugs so much. And I did, I loved it. And you know what I mean? It was just where the consequences where it brought me mind.
He looked at himself basically, which is something that's difficult for a lot of people to do. I think that's it's indicative of people who abuse drugs that don't like looking at themselves, so the drugs help them not look at themselves.
Have you experienced grief and how has it changed you?
I have experienced grief. Has it changed me? Yeah, because now I know what it's like to experience grief, but when your cousin the same age as you takes his life, like, geez, that really made me reevaluate things, definitely.
For a short time, I definitely would have said that cannabis benefited me dealing with my grief.
I definitely would have smoked a
There
lot
you
more
go.
cannabis at that time. And
But do you not find that blocked out the actual process of grief?
I wouldn't say no completely.
I would believe drugs are filling a void for some people, but not for everybody.
I think it softened the impact of it a bit. It took the edge off.
He's using marijuana as a coping mechanism, so he's in denial.
Like, there is times definitely where you can see where you're using more cannabis as just to deal with things.
No, I think he's just choosing not to go through the process of what he has to go through.
It calmed me down. It was something that was missing. I don't know what it was about it, but it meshed well with me at the time.
I think he's just in denial. And it's a big river in Egypt, you know. Yeah, he's drowning.
So, excuse me. So I see some of the comments coming in there, but I suppose, yeah, definitely with when I talked about at the beginning here, myself and Bernard, like, looking at this from two different perspectives completely, because like with Bernard, he can only look at drug use as abuse. With Bernard, there was no room at all for like the differentiate between a drug user and a drug abuser. You kind of seen there within that. He talked about me being in denial and that I'm drowning. You know, hey, the old pun there, the Nile, the River Nile in Egypt, just in case that one flew over your head. You might be short. But you know, he was kind of being very stigmatic towards like drug users. Kind of saying that we're all abusing drugs if you're using an illegal drug. Crazy to think, like, I opened up in that about a certain incident that happened years ago. My cousin, very close friend as well. He took his own life, and I suppose for me that was the very first real death that I had to deal with outside of like an elderly relative passing away. Like, those are a bit easier and more understandable. Like, but suicide by a young cousin, like a relative, so close to. That took the rug from under my feet, and to be very honest, just cannabis softened the landing there for me, because that was a very tough time. But what Bernard was saying, like, that did it block out the grieving process? No, it didn't at all. It just made it a bit easier. It just like lessened the blow. It just took the edge off. Like, I have grieved, like, for my cousin, like, and I definitely wasn't blocked out by the cannabis, and like I'm certainly not in denial about my cannabis use at all. Like, I'm not addicted to cannabis. I could most likely give it up in the morning if I wanted to. As I said, there was a time before I went to Thailand, and I didn't want to get caught with it there, so I just didn't use cannabis there, and it wasn't an issue at all. I wasn't waking up in the middle of the night in the sweat, like, you know, fucking crawling the walls of, you know, all crazy sorts of stuff. There was no withdrawals there at all. So again, and here I am again, like, I feel the need to defend myself because of, you know, being attacked, I suppose. Like, and it is, I suppose, in a way, a bit of an attack in what he was saying. And you can't, I forgive him. I don't hold any grudge against Bernard, because, like, of how he was affected by drugs in his life. It was just like or at least how he believes drugs affected his life. You kind of hear in there, even like he regards himself as clean. Do you know, like, clean, like, I'm dirty. Like, I sitting across there from the table to him, I'm dirty, and I'm in denial about my dirt. Do you know what I mean? I'm like the smelly person in the room who won't admit that he's smelly. Like, you know, it's like, no, I'm not dirty. I'm not. I use cannabis. So what? My cannabis use isn't problematic to me. I'm able to get up, do my 9 to 5, like, whatever is required of me to take part in society. Cannabis use doesn't block that out. No, it doesn't at all. But again, you know, you can't help but blame him, like, from what's after happening to him in his past and stuff like that, and how drugs affected him in his life, and how maybe at some point in time, maybe one of these fucking the institutes that saved him, maybe it was one of these Cumvera or something like that, that kind of has a very religious kind of ethos. Like, I kind of picked that up there from even what he was saying, like that I was dirty, but that's gone, and now the new is coming. Like, I don't know, that sounds kind of very religious, like that, almost like he's being reborn in a way. And I wonder, like, you know, is he still like just being taking like moving one addiction to another, like, you know, that he's now addicted to this way of life, like this life of abstinence, like, is that becoming an addiction for him, to the point of where now he's going to be stigmatic towards people who don't choose that lifestyle. I wonder, like, I don't know. I would love to pick up that conversation again with him, like, and just to delve further, and for you out there to maybe just to witness that in its entirety. Myself and Bernard, we chatted for, I would imagine we chatted for about an hour. It could have been 30 minutes, and it might have seemed like an hour, but like, I believe we chatted for close to an hour anyway. The food was quite nice, in fairness, as well. I don't know if you kind of see me there. I'm like a fella in yolks or something, and I'm kind of half chewing food, like, because I didn't want to be, you know, just chewing with my mouth open and stuff. Like, I was very conscious of eating on camera, man. It was kind of it's a weird situation to be in. I see some of your comments coming in there as well. Wooly says, went to rehab myself for booze and tramadol. I was born again. There you go. Laugh out loud. Then I got stoned and my pain has eased and I'm no longer a pain in the arse. There you go, man. Like, happy fucking days. It's good to hear. Like booze, it can definitely be a pain in your arse. Certainly, if ability to be functional. Whereas cannabis, like, come on, like, how can you be dysfunctional? Unless, like, you overindulge, like, but again, like, it's it's down to the individual. Monsterphology says, I hate the term gateway drug. I started off smoking weed, tried coke, pills, mushrooms, DMT, but would never ever touch crack or heroin, so my gateway does have a limit, so to speak. Some people's limit is alcohol and cigarettes, some are coke and pills. Still, every person has their own morals. And there you go, like, everyone has their own morals, and everyone is free to choose. To be honest, after listening to Dr. Carl Hart and his way of talking about things, like, yeah, I'm certainly curious of trying a lot of substances. I would love to try opium. I would love to try coca leaves. I would love to try ibogaine. I'm certainly curious, like, as to what the experience is like. Like, given morphine before, like, I suppose, so what's the difference, really? I think, only that I can't remember, like, what the effect of the morphine was like, because I was just so out of it, I suppose. Maybe that was all it was like, actually. But I was after coming back, I was after getting anesthetic and stuff, like, so, yeah. But anyway, just digressing. Any other comments coming in there? Woody says, through the Blue Book Brigade got to him. I've been smoking weed for over 10 years and I've never touched coke, gateway drug, my whole. And that comes in from Darren T. And I've shared before in my past that it was drink. I was drunk one night and a buddy said, "Here, do you want to try some coke?" And I did, because I was drunk. So sadly, you know, definitely alcohol is much more of a gateway drug, but that one's legal. Like, where is the Prohibition Brigade coming out and arguing for alcohol to be made legal? They wouldn't dare and do it. They'd be chopped down, like, they'd be chased out of town. They would, like, in fairness. And Ross Dr. Green Thumb says, it's a gateway to the fridge, for fuck's sake, and that's it. Yeah, man, do you know what I mean? The only thing you're a danger to when you're high is the fridge, you know. To an old ham, you'd murder a ham and cheese toasty, and that's about all you'd murder. Do you know, any other munchies in there as well, they're probably all not safe. Other comments coming in there as well, guys. I have Willie says, in rehab all mind-altering substances are no except cigarettes. They are okay. Yeah, there you go. In rehab, you know, they allow certain drugs. It's not all abstinence. It's abstinence only of the drugs that they disapprove of. The disapproval of them has caused more harm in our society than the drugs ever could themselves. What the hell? Ross Dr. Green said, Tom says, I'd love to try DMT. Yeah, it's a good one. Definitely. You'll enjoy it when you get your hands on it anyway, that's for sure. At least I did anyway. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. Be prepared. Like, do you know, it's kind of like getting on a roller coaster. Once the seat belt goes down, you know what I mean. There's don't scream to get off, like, because your man at the control panel, he's only going to laugh at you, you know, and that's what's going to happen when you fucking blast off in DMT. Don't freak out, or they're going to laugh at you and they're going to make fun at you. Jack Christmas says he probably should have stuck to cannabis nothing harder. And Cullum, AA was created by an own con artist. In the past, the religious aspect is woven through all rehab, 12 steps and 12 apostles. And I've also heard that the AA was actually crafted by a guy who said that one of the steps should have been taking LSD, that LSD was a part of the 12-step program. But they don't tell you about that step, do they? But maybe he was kind of hijacked and kicked out of it because of his beliefs. Look that one up yourselves. I'm just kind of recalling vaguely a story that I read or was maybe told. But yeah, the guy who actually originally invented the Alcoholics Anonymous, before the religious, I suppose, part of it came in, LSD was supposed to be one of the steps. I don't know, was it a microdose or a macrodose, but who knows. But guys, I've one more clip there to play for you from the Eating with the Enemy. So this is the final clip there, and that'll be the end of the 420 news then for this evening. So yeah, I'll be back to you in less than 2 minutes, I think this one is. How would you feel if your children started using drugs?
Let you answer your own.
Yeah, well, I've been asked this one a couple of times before if it was my child and stuff, and my answer to them is, as a parent, if your child wants to use drugs, there's very little you can really do if they want to. So for me as a parent, what I do to preemptively have honest conversations about drugs, and my kids know they can ask me about them. Like my mum and dad said to me about alcohol, they would prefer me to drink at home rather than to be drinking out in the street where they don't know what's going on.
Martin had a different view to me. He was more do it in front of me. With me, it's don't do it. My daughter is actually living in the same community where I grew up, and thank God she's learned from my mistakes. Mm-hmm. You know, kind of like, so yeah. She be anti-drug. Our two daughters, that's what we had in common. And he likes taking drugs, and I used to love taking drugs.
I did definitely get insight there from you.
It was just very difficult to challenge Bernard on some of his views because they were very personal to him.
I just find it hard that, I don't know, to accept the fact that you still think that cannabis is the gateway drug.
For me, I just don't believe that there's sufficient evidence there to back up or support that cannabis is a gateway drug.
It's just the terminology on using gateway drug. The majority of them will progress into other stuff. Did I learn anything new in around drug taking and the consequences of drugs? No, but it's about people. Yeah. You know, how drugs affect them. I can come at you with because of the impact it had on me.
One way in which I think differently now is how do you engage in a conversation to change people like Bernard's perspectives?
Well, I really enjoyed the conversation as well. It was good to get things from your perspective as well.
But yeah, look, I opened my mind to certain aspects now. I'm more about the impact of the people's mental health, because my experience tell me that's where I got lost.
That one was actually shorter than expected. But yeah, that was kind of the end of it there, really. Finished with that doozy of a question around the kind of the kids one. And I suppose that they kind of, I'm not too sure that I even say it, but I suppose I should have followed up really with the fact that when my mum and dad said that they would prefer me to be drinking at home with them rather than on the street. Like, that didn't mean my mum and dad were giving me drink or encouraging me to drink at all. It was like if I expressed interest in it. That was kind of good. At least I was able to go forward with my parents and like talk to them and all that. But Excuse me. Again, like, if you think about it, like, when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking about cannabis, and I'm thinking about, like, responsible types of drug use, because that was my experience with drugs. Barnard is thinking about, like, fucking scumbag, like, of some sort. I was trying to sell it to him, or her, his daughter. I think he has two daughters as well, similar to myself. Like, I'd imagine he's coming at it from that perspective. So again, I can't help but not blame him, like, for his thinking, like. But it's like, when we were there, he was unwilling to try to even view it from my perspective. Like, even when he went back to the camera afterwards, reflecting upon it, like, he was still kind of saying I was in denial. I wish they would have played a bit more about what I kind of spoke about in that, like, because when they were getting my opinions afterwards, like, they asked me their kind of stuff about Bernard and things, and this is that's pretty much what I'm saying to you now, is what I was saying then. That Bernard's perspective, like, was incredibly influenced, like, and I suppose he's incredibly blinded by the fact of the path that he's walked in life. And I suppose I am too. I suppose, like, but I'm not blinded by it, like, because I can see how drugs can be bad and in the wrong situation. But again, everything is in perspective. In the right situation, drugs can be great. They really can. Like, drugs can be fucking amazing, like, in the right situation. Like, you go to a music festival with your friends, and if there's a service like the Loop there, and you can get your drugs tested, because there's no real place you can buy them legally currently, you're going to have an amazing time. Do you know? And the horror stories from drugs come from, again, prohibition, where some young person, like, you go back to the Independence Festival here 2 years ago, like, and that young fella who died, forgive me for not remembering his name. I think it might have been a Downey or Denny, but forgive me, he was a CIT student. But, like, his life could have been saved if we had proper services there to test the drugs, or maybe if we had a bit more of a responsible society that allowed people to get access to drugs through quality assured outlets, you know, like a chemist. I don't know. But it's crazy, like, you know, but everything is in perspective. Drugs can be great in the right situation. In the wrong situation, they can be bad. You know, if you're an 8-year-old young fella and you're getting your hands on alcohol, and I don't know, maybe his dad was after dying at that point, and maybe his mum had issues. I don't know there what the whole family equation was for it. It's a very complex issue. It's a very complex issue, and they tried to cram it into 8 minutes. Do you know? And it's like, how do you come across, how do you get your points across in 8 minutes? Really, like, it's so hard. It's such a complex issue. Myself and Bernard probably could have sat and chatted for about 2 hours, really get through the nitty gritty, like, of the two of our different backgrounds and our two of our different perspectives, and to really understand each other. But no, we got, like, fucking an hour, and our conversation as well, it kept getting interrupted. That was the most annoying part about it. Like, we'd be having a conversation, like, and I'd be enjoying it, like, and kind of like, oh, do tell me more, and whatever, like, and he'd be really unloading to his past and stuff like that. And then I would see a question pop up on the iPad, and I'd ignore it and just let him keep talking. And Joanne would come over and she'd stop our conversation, like, just like, not ask the question. I'm like, but okay, like, what I was enjoying what he was saying. I was like, I was on the border of getting pissy with Joanna, actually, to be fair, who was kind of hosting the show above there, because she kept interrupting our conversation, you know. She wanted us to ask the questions that they were asking. Like, you even see in the first one, like, what's your peer group like? And, like, I had a follow-up question to that, like, when he talked about his peer group, and I had another follow-up question, like, and I just kept going. I was, like, really enjoying the conversation with him. I was listening, I was answering, I was really engaging with him. And I believe I got a bit back off of Burner too, like, so I would love if they released our full conversation, or maybe they gave me access to it. But until then, I suppose that's kind of what I have there for you. So yeah, just to remind you, that was Eating with the Enemy is the name of the show. You can watch it on the Virgin Media, but that's all of me out of it anyway. There is no more there to see. And yeah, I will definitely. I see Teresa there saying that I should get him on for a chat. I'll certainly going to reach out to Bernard. I've already said it to the producers of the show. They gave me a call there about 2 weeks ago. I think I was live on air actually. It was during the first talk Gino done around the cannabis talk. Actually, it was while that was streaming. I got a call off the producer to say the show is going to be available in March. And yeah, I said it to him then. I was like, let Bernard know. I was like, give him my number and tell him I want to have a chat with him. And I haven't heard from Bernard. I haven't ever got a call off him yet to date. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he might get in touch with me and I might be able to have him on and to follow up. Like, again, I did feel a bit attacked there afterwards because I feel like he didn't actually listen to what we were talking about at all. If he still kind of went away with the views that I was in denial about my drug use. I would love to engage with him more on that. Like in what way? Like, how do you? Why am I in denial? Like, what do you mean? Like, what am I denying? Like, I would love to. Like, that would be my first question. But we'll see. I won't get to ask him until I see him. We'll see. I'll make efforts for it anyway. Who else is out there? Patrick Clark. He says that lad has a head full of AA. Yeah, he definitely has a head full of something. All right, it definitely seemed like because we were talking within there. I recall now. I was kind of talking about different holistic practices and stuff like that, and I kind of said something like along the lines of, I don't allow myself enough time to kind of do these things and such as. I don't know, just yoga and all of this kind of stuff. I would love to be doing more yoga, and I don't allow myself enough time because I keep telling myself, look, I'm too busy, and I'm lying to myself, really. Like, that's probably what I'm in denial about that. But I keep on focusing on these kind of things. I'm caught up with fucking fighting prohibition, really. Like, if I'm not fighting prohibition, I'm cooking food for my family or something, or I'm out doing something else for my family. I'm always fucking going like. So that's kind of what I mean. Like, it's like, no, like I'm not sitting here smoking cannabis all day, and that's not why I can't do yoga. If I was sitting here smoking cannabis all day, I probably would be doing a lot more yoga, to be honest, to be fair. Come on, like. Jack Grissom says, I'm smoking 18 years and alcohol is the biggest gateway. 100%, Jack, 100%, man. And I see a few other people out there agreeing with you as well. Yeah. Guys, there's a link I'll share there as well later. Just to remind you, there's an award thing that the show and myself have been nominated for. So Natalie O'Regan has shared it up on her Twitter page. It's the Cannabis Activist Awards, or Cannabis Activism Awards, I think it's called. So the show has been nominated for like the best podcast, and I've been nominated for the best activist of the year. So if you want to go over and give me a vote, that would be savage. That be cool. Might get more highlighting of the civil disobedience protests that are taking place. That there's one coming up again very soon. So there'll be a live stream coming up at 4:20. It'll be soon. Yeah, it'll be within the next 7 days anyway. Just to be said. I want to announce the date. I've announced the time, but I want to announce the date. 7 days is kind of, I suppose, the best I can give you on that. So yeah, look out for that one. It'll go live. I suppose it'll be only gone live on YouTube. I'll see if I can figure out how to go live through the 3 apps again from my phone. But at the moment, from my phone, it only allows me to go live on YouTube. So I'll only be able to do the civil disobedience protest live on YouTube. But there's one coming up again very soon. It's going to involve myself and another patient. It's going to be endorsed by the Patients for Safe Access. So a shout out for the Patients for Safe Access there as well, guys. If you haven't joined up yet, do go over and join up. Join the campaign, have your voice heard. If you're a patient out there, if you're suffering, if you've been affected by lack of access to cannabis, or if you've benefited from access to cannabis, and if you'd like to share your story, get in touch with the Patients for Safe Access. At the moment, you can have your story hosted up there in a text form alongside a picture. Or you can also record a video and have those sent to us, and we're going to be facilitating those videos being hosted up there as well. We think it's time now all the patients have their voices heard collectively. So we're going to try to do that as best as we can with the patients for safe access. Myself and a number of others started that up. Includes Kenny Tynan and Alicia Maher, another 2 patients here in Ireland. And also you've Martin O'Brien, Foxworthy Farms. He's also joined up there to support us in our efforts of bringing cannabis to Ireland. Martin O'Brien is a Cork native who left Ireland quite a number of years ago, and he's now located over in the Sonoma Valley, where he's got his own cannabis farm, the Lucky Duckham. And he sent me over this kick-ass hat there as well recently, so that's the old story with the hat. I couldn't find my own hat there a while ago, and his one was just nearby, so I don't know what I did with my one. Probably took it off downstairs. But yeah, I suppose that's all the shout-outs there for now anyway. See, CG says, denial doesn't run through Cork, denial runs through Egypt. There you go. 100%. Definitely not drowning in denial. Onshore Fudge says, I've always said if sniffing a line of whatever cures cancer, would it be bad? Whatever your attitude and drugs, yeah, there you go, man. To each their own. Like, I don't like to judge. I certainly was a bit judgmental before. You know, I was of the belief other drug use was bad, whereas mine wasn't. And I've since kind of changed in that perspective. I don't want to demonize people any longer if they want to use cocaine. I just want to call them forward to acknowledge you use cocaine, because otherwise you're doing a big harm to society. You don't have to be a cocaine addict to use cocaine, neither do you have to be a heroin addict to use heroin. So people like just come forward, like own it, because otherwise you're just going to be discriminated against, and policies aren't going to reflect your own views and needs, and that's kind of a sad state for a society to be in, because there's so many people who are going to be affected by it, you know. It might not be a massive portion of our society, but still there's a large number of people within it who are affected. Mustawa says, so many people fail to understand the difference between use and abuse. Yeah, there you go. Like that's the big differentiation, and it's hard to draw that differentiation when all illegal use is abuse. That's just how they see it in the eyes of the law. If you're using an illegal drug, you're a drug abuser, and that's how they see it. That's what the Misuse of Drugs Act is. So again, that's why I say it. If you're a person, if you believe you're using your cocaine, or if you're using heroin, or if you're using any other drug out there and you believe you're using it responsibly, stand up and own it. That's all I can say. And obviously I can understand why you might not be able to. You might lose jobs and all of this kind of carry on, and you might not be able to. Then you can't, you know, but maybe there's other ways in which you can kind of support the efforts. But, you know, still what I say goes, like, you know, stand up and own it. Otherwise, you know, it's like if you get caught and you're getting criminalized, like, you've only yourself to thank if you haven't been taken part in this kind of effort to have this kind of whole thing normalized, and the whole stigmatization ended, you know. Mr. Always saying, please go vote for the show. Yeah, definitely, guys, go vote for the show. Cannabis Activism Awards, I believe, it's at. I'll try to find a link there, and I'll give it a share there in a minute. Guys, I believe, I'm on for another hour and a half, guys. These shows are going longer and longer, guys. Apologies for that. I don't intend to do these things, but yeah, that's kind of the show there for you today. Just looking back through the comments there, I don't think I've missed too much. Nice one again, everybody who's participated in the super chats again today. I see Mastawes and who else was there as well? I think Podge was in there. Did I see Mastawes and Podge? Yeah, Mastawes and Podge. Yeah, Mastawes threw in 2 super chats. Podge threw in 1. Lads, thanks very much. Thanks very much, honestly. I can't thank you enough. You know, I have a viewing there actually of a property that's going to be taking place this week. And I'm feeling good about this one. I think I'm going to make a move, and maybe next week I might be coming at you from a new location, a new office, and I might have an opportunity then to get some of you in to interact a bit more. But I really do look forward to that, and everybody who's supported the show so far, and and donated in the different ways that have been there. You're all making this possible. So thanks very much again, guys. And I'll be back on Wednesday with more 420 news. So until then, guys, stay blazed and keep it out. Much love. Peace.